welcome to another edition of Women's World. Papua New Guinea has epidemic levels of family and sexual violence directed against women and children, with reports indicating that a significant portion of women and children in PNG have reported to have been sexually violated or subjected to physical violence in their own homes. A workshop was recently held in Lae, reaffirming the need to improve protection, medical and psychological services for survivors of family and sexual violence in the Morobe Province.
In Morobe, the Provincial Family Support Center at Engau Hospital records up to 20 cases of family and sexual violence in a day. Most of these cases involve sexual violence against young girls and women who are forced or manipulated into any unwanted sexual activity.
As you can see the statistics, the number of children that are being abused now in the society is so alarming. It's so alarming that we really need to teach the values and the principles right from the start, from home until they grow up, they go to school and they live in the community. So teaching the values and the principle is also very important.
Over the last 3 months, 100 of the 291 consultations received were sexual violence cases against women and girls. 13 of these cases fall within the AIDS category of 0 to 4 among girls.
Calling on the government also, we need services available also for the women and the children to have access. The statistics of 15,671 cases from 2007 up to today, it's telling us that we need services. And this statistics is only from Lae Family Support Center. How about the rest of the country? Once they provide their statistics, I'm sure we'll be calling on the government to have extra services, extra family support centers throughout the country to address the issues of, gender-based violence, especially to the women and to the children of this country. So that is the call. So the government can be held responsible for all those conventions that they have signed, especially the CEDAW and especially the CRC. Of course, includes the convention for the special need as well. So there we need services. We're talking about the minerals and resources we have and all these things, the developmental issues. Of course, gender-based violence and are also human rights issues and also developmental issues. The more development we have, the more we have these issues of gender-based violence in the country, and therefore we need a lot of services in the country.
Lae's Family and Sexual Violence Unit, however, reveals that most of the complainants who report their cases seek to receive human rights counseling on their problems, but sometimes do not intend to pursue their matters further in court due to cultural barriers or taboos embedded in PNG societies, which hinders family and sexual violence cases from being reported.
What we normally do is when the complainant comes forward, he or she lodges a complaint, and then we give out the complaint form asking the perpetrators to come in voluntarily. And we can, try to find out where the problem is and assist them where possible we can assist. So it's sort of like, but most of the women that they come in here, they only want police to just talk to them and advise them what to do and maybe tell the perpetrators that it's not right to violate their right to assault them, to abuse them in such way. So most of them, they come in to lodge a complaint, but they don't end up in court. In most cases, they don't end up in court.
Established in the year 2000 to reduce violence in PNG, the Family and Sexual Violence Action Committee involves sectors with 81 member organizations and established committees in the provinces. Various stakeholders are involved in the coordination of services delivered to survivors seeking safety, protection, and justice for their problems.
We will take this down to the lowest level so that communities can take ownership and the people will be responsible of the cases that we are now faced with. So that at our level, we are here only to facilitate, monitor, and coordinate. Until then I think the community will be mature enough to see that there is a need to get the community in place, in order. And if if the clients come straight to us, there's a loophole somewhere, that something is wrong, that the leaders at the community level are not taking control or regulating the law and order situation.
Some of the partner organizations involved in providing help services for gender-based violence have also realized that many survivors are still not fully aware of the support information available to take full action against the offenders. Lack of access to courts and police, as well as failure by many justice officials to take violence against women seriously, contribute to the extremely low arrest and conviction rates.
Na ora time sa man blum sa paiti mi na misa ron go police station na talking police am sa kam na harap tron na osem man na go lokim lo selo kai no sem sa mi go tok time sa harim na lusim na mi stop kam na namelo sa time man blum sa paiti mi again mi ron go na mi go talking police am sa making this kind work na why na police am sa making this kind work or sometime mi problem mama sa paysim na go lo police station.
The 2013 Family Protection Act presents an important opportunity to improve the situation if the government fully commit to its full enforcement and allocate the resources necessary to do so.
It's so alarming with the number of children who are being abused. And therefore, one of the recommendation that I would like to give also is to have a separate body to strictly look at the issue on children, with children below the age of 18. And these children are being abused according to our statistics. This is alarming, and we need separate body in the national level down to the provincial, to the district, and to our local communities. We need child protection unit to look after and deal with children's issues. We cannot mix them with adults. We cannot mix them with the youths and the sport and other things like this. We need to have separate bodies to really look at children's issues now. We cannot have broken children. We cannot have broken homes and broken children to run this country. You and I will be gone, but we need to protect our children of this country. So that is my message also, maybe to UNICEF, maybe to our developing partners, including our government as well, who are signatories to the UNCRC. And not only that, also to provide services for children. The community development offices are not many throughout the country, and we need a lot of child protection officers to be in place apart from the present ones. The number of community development officers are not that many, and we need a lot of child protection officers to deal with children's issues.
More facilities are needed to help women and children, and what's most important, services should also be available for men to be educated in order to gain better understanding on family and sexual violence and penalties given for committing the offense.
When we return, Women's World speaks to Jolson Anere, a male advocate under the public sector's Gender Equity and Social Inclusion Policy of 2013. The Government of Papua New Guinea, in partnership with the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade through Australia-sponsored governance programs, developed the Gender Equity and Social Inclusion Policy, which is a tailored policy, an education approach to systematically addressing the prevention of gender-based violence for the public sector and mainstreaming equality principles and values into the government's delivery of services to its people. We now speak to Jolson Anere, a male advocate under the GESI policy, on his thoughts about solution-based strategies for gender-based violence.
Male advocacy is a new program. It's established under the Gender Equality and Social Inclusion Policy, or GSI. It was launched by the Minister for Public Service, Honorable Sep Kotemu, in 2013. And our first training was done 2014 at the Kokoda Trail Motel. Following the training, all TT male advocates signed on behalf of the agency heads. We made a commitment to advocate, do awareness and educate people about the effects and the impacts of violence against women. When you abuse your wife or you hit your girlfriend, it affects not just your wife, your girlfriend. There's emotional abuse, there's psychological abuse, and it affects everybody in the family and the community. So there's 30 of us. We are spread out in all government agencies. We go according to a job description, and we have a very high moral walling, or we call it a moral Teflon. We don't come below that. We engage in awareness at the community level with support of the economic and public sector program. They sometimes fund our activities. And the Department of Personnel Management provides secretariat support to the Male Advocacy Network. Our chair is Dr. Alois Danton from the Internal Revenue Commission. So we try to get involved in community activities and also use every opportunity to highlight to other men the impact of gender-based violence. There is a need for a reframing of the discussion, the conversation. Gender-based violence, family and sexual violence is not just a woman's problem, it's a man's problem. Because the perpetrators, majority of them are men. So it's all of us our problem. If we work together, I'm sure the incidences of gender-based violence will decrease, making our society a more gentle place to live.
There was a report that came out in March about the actual statistics that Doctors Without Borders are seeing, the sort of cases that they're dealing with every day in Port Moresby and in Tari. They've reported that the levels of violence now in the country are some of the highest in the world outside a conflict zone. So do you feel as a male advocate that we are doing enough to address gender-based violence? Should there be more prevention strategies put in place? What are some of the things that you think that we need to start doing to thoroughly address gender-based violence?
Okay, I think I will go back to my training. Our training was conducted facilitated by the Fiji Women's Crisis Center under Dr. Shemaima Ali. Dr. Shemaima Ali is former UN Human Rights Commissioner, is winner of the US Women of Courage Award and the United States Congressional Gold Medal of Honor. So she comes to you with over more than 80 years experience in the Pacific. She challenged most of us, our masculine points of view. What needs to happen is that there needs to be a mindset change. To encourage a mindset change, they need to be sensitized about how masculinity contributes to to violence against women, like coercive control, stalking. All of these things are like emotional abuse. All of these things add up to gender-based violence. They constitute gender-based violence, emotional and psychological trauma. We believe that practical solutions requires a concerted effort between the Male Advocacy Network to do awareness, education, encouraging the men, sensitizing the men to change their mindset. You see it from a man's point of view. Now, if your wife is feeling pain because you assaulted her, why can't you put yourself in her shoes? How would you feel? What type of help do you need from your friends? It needs a mindset change. It needs sensitization, education by men towards men. This is where women's groups can assist. One of the practical solutions is there is a need for violent trauma counseling. So I feel that it requires male advocates taking the lead and encouraging the men to change the perspective, to change their mind, the way they see things, the way they filter the world around them, and try to look at things from a more positive perspective, inclusive of women.
You're watching Women's World. When we return, World Vision PNG's Channel of Hope for Gender Training of Trainers. World Vision's PNG Leadership Against Gender-Based Violence project recently hosted a Channels of Hope for Gender training in Port Moresby. The World Vision Channels of Hope for Gender is an innovative approach to exploring gender identities, norms and values from a faith perspective.
The project is a new project. It was first launched in 2014, 24th November. And it was launched at the Parliament House with the support of community development, including our partner FSVAC, CIMC, led by Ms. Ume Wanete. Under the project PNG Leadership Against Gender-Based Violence, we have three components. One component is Channel of Hope Gender Training. The other component is legal literacy training, and the other component is advocacy. The Channel of Hope is it's a new approach. The methodologies that we use it's a biblical approach that we try to see how we can address gender through the biblical approach, and it has been very helpful.
We see that the program is giving us bigger perspective on how to address gender-based violence in a more concrete and more tangible way so that we can address them. It has crept into the church. By looking at the church organization, we said this side is for the female, this side is for the male. This gives me an indication that gender-based violence is a real issue that we are fighting. And although I may not have the accurate statistics to give, but I can assume from the way that our sitting arrangement in the church is telling me.
And in the context of the church, we have been a few just doing the awareness within the church, especially with the children, girls and the boys.
We got good results from Solomon Islands, Vanuatu. Solomon Islands has done COH, and they are the ones that give us good results, and they also said their experience.
Solomon Islands, it is rated as 2 in every 3 women have experienced gender-based violence, and this is from the SPC studies. And 38% of women, they've experienced forced sex. And this has been an issue in the Solomon Islands, contributed to gender-based violence. As for myself as a gender coordinator, we have been implementing it in 5 target communities. And as I've said, we have been working with the faith leaders and the community hope action teams, and they are the ones that are going to implement these activities in the community. I think one of the effective ways was to educate women, especially, and children of their rights, their roles and their responsibilities based on the Genesis mandate. Like women and men are created equally in the image of God to share roles and responsibilities.
We have been working with the Channels of Hope for 2 years now, and it's a new project in our country. And we're addressing the faith leaders. We have set up the project in 2 area programs, and there are 5 chat. There's Congregational Hope Action Team in the first area program, and the other one further down south. There are 7 of them in the first years that we run the program. Yeah, and it's included all the faith leaders that are in Vanuatu, apart from and other partners that they also help us to involve to reduce and minimize GBV in our nation. Like a cross-culture thing for the Pacific Islanders to be here, and as we learn from each other how they address GBV in their countries, and it's really a good chance to know how they go about with this issue in the nation.
The project we are targeting the government departments and the 7 mainline churches of Papua New Guinea. This is just the first phase of the project, so we are piloting it out in NCDC. The 7 mainline churches, Salvation Army, United Church, Catholic Church, Seventh-day Adventist, and Baptist Church. They were part of this training, and the government department, community development, PNG Correctional Services, NCDCL, and Justice of Attorney General.
Channel of Hope trainings that we are receiving to those who are affected. We are all equally important because we are created in God's image, and whatever treatment that comes to us, there should not be any discrimination, whether prisoner or officer. We have just done our activity plan now and trying to come back and provide some of these good trainings to our officers, so especially people in authority, they will know that this is important.
The 8 days workshop that they have run impact me, and it also broadens my understanding on how to address the issue, how to identify the issue, and how to make awareness about the issue. So it gives me a lot of ways how I can make awareness, how I can identify who is suffering from gender-based violence, how to assist, how to prevent. So those are the things, those are the tools that the workshop is equipping me to go out into the community.
Disability is something that a lot of times we miss out, but he sees that this COH was important and he's trying to bring to the disabilities.
I've been working with the deaf people for almost 6 years now. 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Every Monday I'm teaching deaf students at Hohola Red Cross Special Education Center. And deaf people are people who never talk, but they talk using sign language. And this will also help me when I'm teaching the deaf student, I can contextualize about the gender-based violence into the teaching, so that also the deaf may know how to address gender-based issue if they come across any in their life.
Everybody in Papua New Guinea who reads newspapers and watch TV know that we have a lot of gender-based violence issues. The only thing is the way to go about solving some of those problems.
The approach that we take is people must stand up for justice, there should be fairness, and there should be equal share of responsibilities between men and women, and men and women must understand their roles and responsibilities, and we are looking at reducing domestic violence and other forms of violence. So it's more focusing on that. And for PNG leadership, the objective and the goal of this project is we are looking at reaching the government departments, reaching the leaders, and we would like more of this to be conducted in the government departments, because the 7 mainline churches have been doing that, and we have worked very well with the 7 mainline churches. And the 7 mainline churches, we have worked with the bishops, the presidents, and they've allowed us to go in. So the main objective of this project and the PNG leadership is we want to reach government leaders, and the government leaders can carry out the information of gender-based violence, of how we can address gender-based violence, and also talking about human rights in their own respective departments, in their own family, and in their own community.
The men, the boys, they are actually the biggest perpetrators. So we should target most of our sensitization programs for our male counterparts. And if they're married, they could probably bring their wives along, and we run training for both of them so they can understand what gender is all about, how they can partner together and work together and reduce a lot of the abuse that takes place because of the way the man is brought up, and maybe also the way the woman is brought up. So when they can understand their roles and their responsibilities, they become more accountable for their own actions and the choices they make. We say a lot of things like equal opportunity, but do we actually practice it when it comes to job promotions, when it comes to housing for women officers, when it comes to even just driving the office vehicle, when it comes to equal pay and equal work, when it comes to a mother who just gave birth, having time off to feed the baby at 10 o'clock, at lunch, at 3 o'clock. Do we see that working in our lives, in the places that we work? And it's a leadership issue now. They also have to be responsible to understand gender-based issues to make good decisions as leaders.
it starts from you, it starts from me, it starts from all of us. It's that like you have to be the channel of hope. I have to be the channel of hope. If I see someone is suffering from violence, I have to report it. I have to address it. I have to prevent it. I cannot become a perpetrator, so I cannot just observe. No, I have to at least step in to do something. And in a way, it's the battle for all of us, the community, right from the family to the churches to the community. If all of us can work together, if all of us can team up together, if all of us can set a network team, I think we will at least somehow, not totally, completely fight them, but at least we can minimize them at some level. So it goes back to us, all of us, to be a channel of hope wherever we are placed, and whatever we do in respective communities that we come from.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Women's World. Visit MTV online on www.mtv.com.pg to view this episode again. We also invite your feedback on our stories. You can email womensworld@mtv.com.pg or find us on Facebook. Until next time, I'm Michaeline Moyabasi, wishing you a pleasant evening.